Assalamu alaikum, family, peace, healing, and light, and welcome back to another episode of Healing with Angelica's podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And if you are new to the show, welcome, beautiful souls. Oh my gosh, we are on our 63rd episode. We have came so far. All praises due to Allah. On today's episode, I have a special guest joining me today, my brother Darryl Muhammad, as we will be discussing today's topic, Black Unity for Healing. Brother Darryl, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you, sister. It's a pleasure and an honor to be at your service and to be able to serve our people with inspiration and information.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. Such a pleasure to have you here on the show today to discuss Black Unity for Healing. Now, before we get started, do you mind letting our audience know just a little bit more about you?
Well, I'm a student in the Nation of Islam. I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. I have a bachelor's in education. I'm matriculated through Payne Theological Seminary as a Muslim, and made a lot of great contacts through that experience. And I'm into my wellness and fitness, and I'm just passionate about uh, serving our people and fulfilling my purpose in helping God's Messiah among us, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. Thank you so much for that, Brother Darryl. Now, let's get started on today's absolutely well needed discussion, Black
Mm-hmm.
Unity for Healing. And please, for my audience today, do not hesitate to put any questions you may have for my guest, Brother Darryl Muhammad, in the comment box below. So today's episode is surrounded around Black unity, and due to the fact that us as a people, specifically colored people in America, are still suffering untold torture and murder at the hands of our enemies because we have not reached the pinnacles of success in our salvation, in which the key to that is love and unity of self and kind. In the book, Message to the Black Man in America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad on page 220, he stated, "The lack of love for self and kind keeps us divided, and being divided, we are a nation of prey at the hands of our ever open enemies." And
Peace.
that brings me to my first question for you, Brother Darryl. Now, why is Black unity important for the healing of the Black family?
Before we start, I'd like to say, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praise is due forever. I bear witness that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the exalted Christ, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the Messiah among us. And I greet the listening audience in the greetings, words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. To begin your question, you said this would be the 63rd episode. And six
Yes.
and three, 6 and 3 is 9. 9 is a divine number of the woman, and it's also a number of completion. So
Oh,
we're
wow.
that's just something that just popped in my mind. I thought I'd share.
Well, thank you for that. I love that. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Thank you for that.
Um, what you said, your question was, why is Black unity important?
Yes, why is Black unity important for the healing of the Black family?
Well, it is. The Bible says there's a balm in Gilead, and that healing comes through the Messiah. But an aspect of the healing is through our unity. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that separation is more important than prayer. And prayer in Islam is a pillar. A pillar is something that upholds a structure. It upholds the structure of any building or any facility that we enter. So, being that prayer is a pillar, meaning separation is also a pillar. because we can't avail ourselves to the blessings of Allah God until we separate and come amongst ourselves. The Bible says, come out of her, my people, and be ye not partakers of her sins and her plagues, for her sins and plagues have reached unto heaven and stink in the nostrils of God. So in our activity, there's another question that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad raises, and that is the time and what must be done. So the time is independence and separation. And what must be done is our collective efforts, mentally, spiritually, physically, economically, socially, politically, that we have to turn towards ourselves to avail ourselves to the many blessings that God has before us. There was a preacher that said, a Christian pastor that said, Black people don't need another blessing. Black people just need discipline. And I thought that was profound, because if we would discipline ourselves, because many times that the trials that we face as a people or individuals is based on that lack of discipline, in many areas of our lives. And so if we would discipline ourselves to the universal principle of unity and having a sense of true community, then we can walk into the many blessings that God has before us. But we can never avail ourselves to those blessings that are ever waiting us. And another reason why we have to unite is because unity is an act of protection, and it is also an act of a war. Our our rise, our seeking independence, our seeking freedom, justice, and equality is a declaration of aggression to the enemy, because our literally just standing up disturbs their position of power, and the enemy don't want to give away his power. So what they say, the statement is, freedom ain't free. So you're gonna have to fight. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that every member of the Nation of Islam is first a soldier. Why? You got to be a soldier doctor. You got to be a soldier lawyer. You got to be a soldier preacher. You got to be a soldier student. You got to be a soldier, whatever. Because if you look at a soldier, he's ready to fight and defend and protect himself in any arena of life.
Yes.
And if we look at that, if we look at life as first a soldier, whether we are having adversity at school, we're having adversity on the job, or adversity even within ourselves. We go to war with ourselves against the negatives of self, the negatives outside of self, and we fight and meet and overcome all what? Obstacles in our path. So, I mean, it's just so imperative. Like we're right, basically as a community or as a neighborhood, we're just like sitting ducks. We've been taught some of the most profound lessons from great Black minds. The Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Noble Drew Ali, Dr. King. The list goes on. We've had so many profound teachers and leaders that gives us guidance, but we can never actualize that wisdom until we put it into practice. So right now, there's no more teaching that really needs to be done. It's just about us coming together and actively producing the things that we've been taught. So, but let me clarify. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan are not just regular teachers. They're divine teachers. They
Yes.
come and given us divine wisdom and revelation that the world has never had or heard before. So there is a distinction. But suffice it to say, we've had brilliant minds also before them, and we can't negate any of them that laid a foundation for us.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Teach, all praises due to Allah. Thank you for that profound answer. Black
What I want to
unity.
add too, we have to promote Black unity. You know, we have to campaign for Black unity. It has to be a constant reminder. We have to organize our communities and our nation behind the principle of unity, and
Yes.
that has to be translated to our so-called leaders, our entertainers, our millionaires, and our billionaires. Donald Sterling, the former owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, who is also a Jewish man, and when he had got caught in a scandal, and he was speaking true, he was speaking candidly, and in his speaking, he had said that Black people don't look out for themselves.
Mm.
Their millionaires don't care about their own people. He was referencing Magic Johnson and how he's like, he doesn't look out or look back to serve his community. And
Yes.
then he also said, we look out for our people. He said, we have programs and systems in place to make sure our people are taken care of. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was listening to a YouTube, um, it was like a dialogue between Rabbi Harry. Rabbi Harry is a Jewish rabbi that interviewed with Dr. Wesley Muhammad. But however, on a separate interview with someone else, he had made the statement. He said Jewish people, a Jewish man in New York can contact another Jewish man in California and connect with that family, and that family will bring him in and
Mm.
give them a place to stay and start them out to build whatever endeavor that they desire to have.
Yes.
That's a powerful, powerful reality that they live, but they don't necessarily tell to the public.
Yes.
Now,
Mm.
imagine if you, as a Black woman, or me as a Black man, just randomly calling a Black person in Atlanta, Georgia. You know, we'd be like, "Who is this? Who is this Negro calling me? Talking about he need he's talking about he need a place to stay."
Mm-hmm.
You know, we
Yeah. Like,
looking at we looking at each other crazy, and then we have our moralities all messed up. So it's like we want to come in and probably rob somebody. So we have to heal on every level so that
Yes.
reality can be a real tangible reality among us as a people.
Mm-hmm.
But in order for that to be a reality, we've been given the tools, which is what? Self-improvement, the
Yes.
basis for community development. The,
Yes.
the, the, the community development begins with self. I have personal issues, you and I and we, and all of us have those things. But if we go through those things properly and use the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual tools that we've been given, we can actually overcome the pain that we faced through life. And even like in studying Dianetics, those engrams, those traumatic life events, if we study ourselves, analyze ourselves, look at ourselves, critique
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and
Yes.
face the pain, face the difficulty. Facing it actually allows you to get through the pain,
Yes.
not compiling it with another problem in terms of drinking and smoking and gambling and partying. You covering up what you need to face. You can only get
Mm.
healed unless you look at it like, okay, you know what? The hardest thing is to do is to look at the ugliness of self. So you know what? And let me look at this. It's like when we get up in the morning, we ain't necessarily the prettiest or the cutest. You got stuff in your eye, but you look at yourself and be like, you know what? Let me fix this. Let me brush my
Yes.
teeth. Let me wash my face, take a shower, fix my hair. Well, that's the same way spiritually. It's the same way intellectually or mentally. We look at the ugliness of, man, you know what? Maybe I wasn't acting right. Maybe, let me go back,
Yes.
let me atone. Let me like, man, I was wrong. If we have that spirit amongst ourselves in the community, it will generate literally heaven on earth.
Mm.
And when we make infractions, we have to stop this thing as far as cutting one another off. I ain't dealing with that nigga no more. That, excuse my language, but it's like that type of thing, man. We're all we have. Literally,
Exactly.
we are
Mm.
all we have. So you keep cutting everybody off. All these imperfect people gonna make mistakes. So eventually we're gonna cut our whole community and whole family off. Everybody gonna be in the
Yes.
corner by themselves, struggling. You know? until we come together and be like, you know what, man, I was wrong. And then when somebody comes, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, we should never deny a person who is seeking forgiveness,
Mm.
Because you're blocking your blessings from the one who truly forgives, who is
Yes.
your creator, who is Allah. So, we have to get into this mode of being like how Jesus said, turning the other cheek. Now, we don't turn the other cheek to the enemy, but our brother and sister is not the real enemy.
Mm.
This is our family. So if we can
Yes.
adopt that Christian attitude of turning the other cheek and forgiving one another amongst ourselves as a people, then we will begin to see the promised land and heaven on earth. Because Jesus said in the Bible, he said, the disciples said, Master, uh, when did we not feed you when you were hungry? When were you naked and we didn't clothe you? When were you without shelter and we didn't give you shelter? And Jesus
Yes.
said, inasmuch as you have not done it unto the least of these, my brother, you have also not done it unto me.
Mm.
So we have to be servants of the least man and looking towards to serve ourselves and our community. And then we'll see heaven on earth. We'll see God in our brother and our sister.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of
Mm-hmm.
looking down and like, oh man, that nigga did this. I mean, you know what, man, we done a lot of things. So we
Yes.
have to rise above emotions into the thinking of God. Because if God thought the way that we as Black people think about ourselves and our community, we would not be recipients of his saving grace.
Yes.
And it said if we were to be punished for our sins, it would be justifiable.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we have to get this idea of unity and brotherhood and sisterhood to our millionaires and billionaires. It's not that they have the responsibility of doing it all. Because if we're collective in our efforts, if we all just did a little bit, it would be
Mm-hmm.
just enough for us to begin to see the reality. I was blessed with the privilege of going to Dubai, and I seen how beautiful that place is.
Mm-hmm.
And that place was originally a desert. It had no resources. But however, a collective effort of a few people with collective monies took an underdeveloped desert land and made it a paradise on earth.
Mm.
So imagine if, you see Black people, we are a nation within a nation. And if we stop wanting to be accepted by our former slave masters and their children, wanting acceptance, wanting position in their facilities, in their organizations, in their institutions, instead of us turning to ourselves to create our organizations, institutions, and
Mm-hmm.
systems, and being accepted by ourselves and being accepted by our creator, our God. If that becomes enough, we can generate an independent world amongst ourselves right here in America. We
Mm.
can take underdeveloped land. We can. God will bless us to develop the desert. If they can develop Dubai in the desert, we can develop the deserts in America.
Mm-hmm.
The land is for sale, and if you buy and purchase the land, like Young Jeezy said, men do what they want, boys do what they can. And it ain't
Mm.
no secret, I'm a grown ass man. So what that means is when you own something, like Frank Lucas said, when you own something, you can name it what you want to name it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you own something, you control it.
Yes.
Imagine if our millionaires and billionaires and our nickels and dimes and dollars collectively bought a large mass of land in America, and then we put
Mm.
our brilliant Black minds together to begin to build life-sustaining institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Food, clothing, shelter, education, medicine, hospitals. We can do that.
Yes.
We can do it overnight, actually, because we're being assaulted. Our lack of unity is making us like a sitting duck. We are being assaulted and attacked literally every day of our lives in existence in America.
Mm-hmm.
How? Through the food, through the drugs, through the air, through the water. Could you imagine if the situation that was in Flint, Michigan, was in Connecticut somewhere, or some large white town where a lot of Caucasians live? That would have been a national and a governmental issue on the national
Mm-hmm.
news, and they would have sought to rectify that situation overnight. But however, since it's all black people, we're still left to do something for ourselves. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we must do something for self or suffer the consequences. And we are slowly but surely beginning to suffer the consequences of us not collectively coming together and having
Mm-hmm.
unity and a plan for ourselves. You know, they put all of these chemicals in the food. A lot of men are having what is called, erectile dysfunctions. Never before you've had young men in 30s and 40s having this issue, when back in the 60s and the 50s and the 40s, great grandpa, they was having babies when they were 60 and 70 years old. They didn't have these
Mm-hmm.
issues. Why? We're being assaulted through our foods. We're eating synthetic sugars, white sugars, high fructose corn syrup, which your body is hard. It's hard for your body to even break that down. Your body needs simple sugar, like natural cane sugars or fruit sugars, things of that sort. We're ingesting soybean oil, which is better known as vegetable oil. These are the things that raises the levels of estrogen in a man's and a woman's body. And when you
Mm.
have elevated levels of estrogen as a man, it affects your ability to perform with your woman and ultimately to produce children. And the
Mm-hmm.
enemy wants to cut you off and cut us off from having beautiful, strong, uh, powerful, and intelligent children, because children represent the future. So he's
Yes.
systematically doing things to manipulate the health of the people. So we go to these fast food restaurants and we go and we live in a food desert where we don't have truly valuable nutritional foods. Being over in another country, in Dubai, the food tastes different. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have the chemicals, nor do their government allow certain chemicals that they put in America. They don't allow it to come over there in their other countries, because they care about the people. It's
Mm-hmm.
based on the leadership. So again, our conditions is based on our leadership as black people,
Yes.
because our leadership wants to be near the enemy, want to be acceptable by the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
and the leadership, they benefit individualistically in their families, but the masses of the people go to hell. So, we as black people got to redirect who we choose to be our leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a foundation of blackness as your prerequisite in going forward as a leader of black people and a leader in our community. So if you want to be a mayor, you have to have black consciousness as a mayor. You want to be a principal or a teacher, your foundation must be black consciousness. Uh, the Honorable Marcus Garvey said, think black, be black, buy black, and all else
Mm-hmm.
will take care of itself. So our blackness, our brotherhood, our sisterhood has to be the forefront of us moving forward in how we uh, dictate our agenda to ourselves and to the enemy.
Yes.
You can't be a sellout, bootlicking Uncle Tom, Sambo Negro or Negress, um, talking about you a black leader. And when you go behind closed doors, you not standing strong. You selling us out for a few crumbs off the slave master's table. And
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, we get nowhere. And so we are in the condition that we're in now, relatively, that we were in slavery. The
Yes.
black on the bottom and the white is still on the top. We still go to our enemy for an education. We still go to our enemy for food, clothing, and shelter. There are many Black millionaires and billionaires and successful Black people, but we're individualistic in our stance. We become collective, and you tie those millionaires and billionaires together to a national Black agenda, a national Black economic agenda. Then we will begin to have progress. As long as we're trying to integrate and think about inclusivity with others outside of our community, we'll never get anywhere. Everybody individually is concerned about their community. You know, another statement that the Honorable Marcus Garvey said, the white man is for the white man under all circumstances. You and I should do the same. So the time and what must be done is information, collecting information, but inspiring ourselves from our ancestors and our elders to how to forge a pathway for now and the future. That should be our guiding light. And we have to, one of the things is also we need to develop a national treasury to make all of these things a tangible reality. So just like, you know, the government has a treasury, well, we have to have an independent Black government that we develop a treasury that serves the individualistic communal needs of the Black man and Black woman of America. You know, yes, the enemy owes us reparations, but however, we have to take some responsibility and begin to repair ourselves, prepare ourselves, and build the reality that we need. You know, it's like an abused woman in a marriage. You know, she gets so tired that she can't take the abuse no more, so it's time to separate. So she separates herself and begins to heal herself and begins to get back on the track and then begin to financially reward herself. It's the same with us as a people. We've been abused under our former slave masters and their children to this very moment. So why won't we have a plan to say, you know, how can we get out of this situation and how can we give ourselves heaven on earth? Sir. How can we give ourselves justice? You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us the charge to make our communities a decent and safe place to live. How are we going to do that? Well, we have to first instruct our young brothers and sisters in loving self, organizing self. You know, if we have a treasury, we can employ brothers to be security of our community. And along with the police, they can be buffers and protectors to make sure the police is handling their business properly. You know, when you control and own everything, you control the land, the resources. You know, you can produce what you want to produce. You know, in New York, they got Chinatown and Greek Town and Mexico Town. But where's Black Town? Where's Africa Town? You know, we can have these all over America. But we're sitting. It's like I said, we're sitting ducks. You ever heard of the experiment of the frog? The frog that they put in a frying pan, and you know, the frogs, they can adjust their temperature to survive in the environment, and so they rose the temperature slowly, and the frog just kept sitting there and raising his temperature, but he didn't even know he was being fried while he was alive, but it was happening slowly by degrees. And it is the same with us. We're in the frying pan, and the enemy is constantly raising the temperature, and we keep adjusting ourselves to what the enemy does to us instead of being proactive and say, you know what, let me get out of this pot and let me create another environment for myself. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Woo! Brother Darryl, that was you.
Praise be to Allah.
Listen, drop the mic. I said, we already halfway done with the show. You done already wrapped everything up in one.
Yes,
I ain't even gonna lie.
all praises.
Yes, all praises.
I want to share something real quick out of a book by by one of our great scholars, Dr. Claude Anderson. He has a book out called Powernomics, but he also got a book out called Black Labor and White Wealth. We should get those books. But what he said is that neighborhoods are not enough. He said neighborhoods are problematic for any group seeking empowerment. Unfortunately, most Black Americans live in neighborhoods, not communities. A community signifies commitment and the potential for power. That represents a mindset, right? Neighborhood does not. Webster's New World Dictionary defines neighborhood as a vicinity or physical place where there are people living near one another. That's all we're doing is living near one another. The concept of a neighborhood implies an area that is residential in nature with lesser wealth, power, and status than a community. The majority of Black Americans live in impoverished Black neighborhoods and spend approximately 95% of their annual disposable income with people who live outside of the neighborhood. They spend only 5% of their disposable income in Black neighborhoods. They spend 3% with non-Black owned businesses that are located in Black neighborhoods, but whose owners live outside of Black neighborhoods. Thus, only 2% of Black America's disposable income is spent in Black owned businesses in Black neighborhoods. It is impossible for any large population or neighborhood to be self-sufficient on only 2% of its income. By spending its disposable income in other groups, businesses, and communities, Black America impoverishes itself and impedes their own growth of functional communities. You understand? But Dr. Claude Anderson also defined racism as this. He said it's a group of people that are in competition for the control of power, wealth, and resources. If we look at Black people, we're not even in the race because we don't have a desire collectively to be in the control of power, wealth, and resources. We're individually trying to get it. I'm trying to get the bag, as we say. But if we have to collectively get the bag so that we can control our narrative. Like Dr. Claude Anderson said, you cannot, and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, how can we go into politics without money? Politics without money is like symbol without substance. So we get together and, they use the Black vote, but that Black vote has power, but it's not collective. It's not organized. Because for one, you don't have any money. You're just bumping your gums, talking about what you want from the slave master and their children. And for two, you don't have the power to dictate, this is what we want. This is who we want in office. And when they get there, we can ensure that they're going to produce what they said they would produce. So it says, one benefit of Jim Crow segregation was that it forced Black people to build what could appropriately be called quasi-communities, unlike neighborhoods, where people simply live in the same area during Jim Crow segregation. Black Americans were unified with a code of conduct. There was a time that when Black people, back in the 80s and the 70s, you could just look at another Black man and that, like, y'all would be on the white man's job and y'all would be the minority, but you could look at each other with an eye like, bro, I got your back. I got your back. But now it's like, we turncoat. We're that Negro on the slave plantation that was the runner that went after the runaway slaves and brought them back to the slave master. And that's where we got the term meritorious manumission. Meritorious is merit. Manumission is it's called earned freedom. So you got cookie points and brownie points for being a turncoat on your own people.
Yes. So we got 15 minutes left here on the show.
Okay.
You done already put it all the way down with everything in regards to Black unity. I did want to get some of the questions that we had for a guest. Yeah, we got a question down here. And now, If you all are enjoying this episode just as well as I am, please, please, please show your support by donating today to Cash App $ Healing with Angelica to help sustain future episodes just like this. I will also leave more info to donate on the screen below. I love you all. Now let's get back to today's episode, Black Unity for Healing with Darryl Muhammad. So I see here that we have a question down here from Bro Lawrence. It says here, what is an area that we can work on in our community right now?
I'm not understanding like what area in terms of like locality, or like what area in terms of like where we should start politically, socially. But if it's like an area, I mean, we can pick anywhere that is available in terms of like land for sale. One of the things in the area, one of the things that we could start is that we have to be collective about producing community gardens. We can buy, there's a lot of empty lots in our community, right? So we can take some of these lots and just make them community gardens. And allowing, tying ourselves with the Black church and the religious organizations, that letting our people know when you want to get fresh, healthy vegetables, fresh produce, you can go and support our local farmers markets that we produce for ourselves. And I guess whatever area, let me see what other areas that we could be. But one of the areas that we can do, we can start going door to door, and first of all, informing our people of Black unity. And then second of all, asking for donations. Like if Black people would donate on a weekly basis, $5, $2, $20. This is the regular common man. If we could do that collectively in our community, that we put into a national treasury that we develop, and at the end of each year, we can let our community know what we've collected, and then from an executive council, we can begin to dispose those funds to begin to produce these independent Black life-sustaining institutions. So we have to commit ourselves. Like, okay, did you give the Black Unity Movement this week? Did you give your 5? Did you give your 20? Whatever you can commit, whatever's not a burden, because I mean, Black people, we spend money on liquor, alcohol, cigarettes, all type of foolishness. So we can take some of that money to build a future for ourselves and our children. If we don't unite today, we're going to have a very dark future. And so we have to look towards the leader from within and begin to serve ourselves. Any other questions?
All praise due to Allah. Thank you so much for that. Yes. So what I said, for the most part, you kind of went through all the questions that I had for you.
Oh, really?
But I do want to ask, so we can have solutions for it. I know you spoke about it, most of it, when you were just speaking, but my last question would be, what is the solution for us to all start our healing through Black unity?
Well, it begins with self. So where we can start is in the mirror. We can start by picking up a book. Our training in the nation is so beautiful if we apply it. We were always trained to study. Studying knowledge and information is actually a healing towards depression and mental issues that we have. If we start to inspire ourselves with new information, we'll begin our journey on healing. One of the books that we could use is called Closing the Gap, where the Minister Jibril Muhammad, who is an angel, who interviewed the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan with a very important questions. And so the minister is a human being like we all are, and he, uses his life examples of his personal struggles and dark moments and how he handled those situations. And so he gives us a beautiful example of how to face difficulty, how to go through situations with the right mentality. How to look at God's hand in everything that we go through. You know, because we are the people of God, but we've been cut
Yes.
off from God. So if we awaken the God within every man and practice prayer and practice meditation, connecting towards the inner spirit of self.
Mm-hmm.
Minister Jabril Muhammad said self means nature. So if we tap into our nature, which is God, which is righteousness and moral correctness, if we get, we start struggling with ourselves and our lower selves, these are the beginning steps of what unity must entail, because we can't be unified when we're, you know, seeking to rob our brother and sister, or
Yes.
do any type of harm, or when your brother's children is not safe in your care. We have to be brotherly and sisterly in every way,
Mm-hmm.
So it begins with us healing ourselves through the acquisition of knowledge, through the application of prayer,
Mm-hmm.
and through the application of a physical regimen that we put our bodies through every day. And we have to get back to fasting, because that's one of the ways that we can defend ourselves from the chemicals that the enemy is putting in our foods. But
Mm-hmm.
we fast, and also it's a way that we tap into our higher self. When we tap in, the Holy Quran teaches that fasting is prescribed, and it's not just prescribed for Ramadan. It's actually prescribed as an ongoing prescription as we go throughout our yearly lives. So in the book How to Eat to Live, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad instructs us to fast for 3 days every new month.
Mm-hmm.
So if we as a community, you don't have to be a Muslim so-called member of the Nation of Islam to implement those practices. You can just do that on your own and see
Mm-hmm.
how your life will be benefited and how you'll grow and evolve from that. Many times our mental illnesses and mental situations come from the negative chemicals that we're putting into our bodies.
Yes.
So we're eating synthetic, fake, made up food, and we wonder why we having all of these emotional issues.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can't handle difficulty, and our children, you can't sit still or whatever. It's MSG, monosodium
Mm-hmm.
glutamate. That's a chemical. It's a neurological, uh, nerve damaging chemical. So we have to educate ourselves on the things that are negative, that the enemy tells us the enemy says is good, but God said it's bad. But the
Mm.
enemy will try to justify it being good. So we have to understand, like, we have to look carefully uh, into the things that this enemy gives us, because we all think that, our enemy has changed from the time we hit the shores of America in 1555 to this very moment today. It's still the enemy today. He's the same enemy.
Exactly.
You know, in our lessons it says, why do we make the devil study from 35 to 55 years before he can come among us? It says that because we would not kill him as fast as we would kill the other devils. He
Mm.
studied. He studied to learn how to be righteous. He studied. So there are those white folks that mean well and desire, some good for us as a people. But at the same time, we keep an eye on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the nature is still the same. It's like you playing with a rattlesnake or a garden snake. The garden snake is not poisonous, but it's still a snake,
Exactly.
and it still got the same nature as the rattlesnake. They both gonna bite you, but one is more
Mm-hmm.
deadly than the other. So we got to be aware, man. We got to understand, and then also, a lot of these black people that want acceptance from this enemy. At the end of the day, they are too the enemy. When you side
Mm.
with the enemy and you sell the aspirations of your people down the drain for some certain insignificant gain at the detriment of your people, then oh yeah, you are enemy and you have to go. A lot of times it's those enemies that gotta go first, because
Ooh.
you can pose as a friend and you're hearing uh, our battle moves behind enemy lines, and you can turn the coat and go run to the enemy and give them what you heard amongst us.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be tight in that sense. We got to be. That's why the Holy Quran says, "Be firm with the hypocrite," because the hypocrite is a turncoat. He gonna sell the organization out eventually. So that one got to go before the real enemy. Yeah. So just because they got a black face, don't mean brother. It's your deeds and your actions that indeed make you brother. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt because we got the same color. We same, so I'm gonna automatically come to you with love. But if we find out that you are a turncoat and you serving the enemy, you got to go. Yeah. So that we have to have that type of mindset. And we have to have that in our black men, you understand? So we can begin to be the men that we once were, the protectors and the defenders of our community. And that's why they're putting the chemicals in this food too, because they want to feminize the black man. They don't want you to be strong and alpha. That's why Dr. Wesley Muhammad was teaching on the male hormone testosterone. They use things to lower your testosterone to make you soft, make you passive. You're not a warrior. You're not a fighter. You want to, it's almost like they're spiritually castrating your testicles. And so when they have the alpha man, the alpha male, he's naturally a protector. He's naturally a defender. You don't have to tell him to get up. He's going to get up anyway. Can you imagine running into a pride of lions? That male lion ain't going to sit in the back. He's going to be out front.
Yes.
So the black man has been altered. So we have to purify ourselves and get back to our original state of existence.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I remember, I miss our late brother, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. He was hard on the enemy, but it was that beautiful training that he gave us to always be strong and in the face of adversity and in the face of the enemy. But you can kill his body, but you can't kill the spirit.
Yes. I love it. All praise due to Allah. Thank you so much, Brother Darryl, for joining me today on this well-needed discussion. Black unity for healing. I feel like we just got a whole bunch of healing from what you just stated. I would also like to thank my amazing audience and healing tribe for joining us today. I pray this episode was informative, valuable, and healing for you all. Also, be sure to share, like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes on any of your favorite podcast station, Closing the Gap Broadcast Network on Facebook and YouTube, and Healing with Angelica's podcast on Facebook and YouTube to help get the message out to those in need of healing and light. Also, if you're ready to start your healing journey, I am offering a 90-minute consultation call that will include a copy of my ebook, Heal Yourself for Free. More information will be in today's show notes, including information for today's amazing guest, my brother here in Dayton, Ohio, Brother Darryl Muhammad. Now, before we end today's show, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today?
Let us continue to fight. Never give up the spirit of fighting. We have a fight song. We are fighting for Islam and we will surely win.
Surely win.
Savior, Allah, the universal king. We're united by his nation and called by his name. So let us rise, ye Muslims, and fight for your own. So we in the spirit of fighting. This is that. And you say, what time is it? It's nation time, but it's also fighting. Because the enemy is fighting, so we have to fight back. And so we fight through knowledge. We fight through prayer. We fight through eating right, fight through our moral correctness.
Yes.
We fight physically if needed be, and that's why we have to prepare ourselves and train on all levels. We're taught in our lessons. We're constantly training to meet and overcome all obstacles in our path, and we're compelled to do this by being courteous, humble, disciplined, and intelligent in all that we do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it. All praises is due to Allah. Just want to thank my lovely healing tribe for joining us today. And we leave you all as we came. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, healing, and light.